Lydia sat in her small kitchen, staring at the cake she'd baked that morning, a chocolate sponge with strawberries, her grandson's favorite. The candles waited, unlit. On the counter beside it lay a neatly wrapped gift, a toy car she'd ordered weeks ago. She'd written the card carefully, in her soft cursive, "To my sweet Oliver, with love from Grandma." But the phone never rang. No message came. Her son Mark had promised, "We'll stop by in the afternoon. Mom, Anna wants to keep it simple this year." Simple. It seemed meant without her. Lydia waited until the light faded and the cake went cold. She dialed Mark's number once, twice, but it went to voicemail. Across town, in their bright modern house, Mark sat at the dinner table while Oliver blew out his candle surrounded by Anna's parents, her friends, and their laughter. Lydia's name wasn't mentioned. "Mom, should we have invited her?" Mark asked softly. Anna looked up, her smile tight. "You know how she gets, Mark. She'll make everything about her. I just wanted Oliver to have a peaceful day." Mark hesitated but didn't argue. Later that night, when Oliver was asleep, he scrolled through his phone and saw 2 missed calls from his mother. Guilt stabbed his chest. But Anna's words echoed in his mind. "She manipulates you with that guilt. Mark." He put the phone face down on the table and said nothing. At midnight, Lydia blew out the candles alone. The room was dark except for the small flame that flickered on her tear-streaked face. She whispered softly, "Happy birthday, my boy," and the silence that followed was the kind that fills a home, when love has nowhere left to go. The next morning, Lydia woke to the sound of her neighbors' laughter drifting. Through the open window, a family breakfast. Clinking plates, the kind of sound that used to fill her own house. She sat with her tea, scrolling through social media. And there it was, a photo of Oliver, grinning in front of his birthday cake. The caption read, "Our little man is growing up so fast." Lydia zoomed in. She could see the toy car she'd sent a week earlier, still in its package on the corner of the table, unopened. Her heart sank. She typed a message to Mark. "You forgot the cake, didn't you?" Then deleted it. Instead, she sent, "Hope Oliver had a wonderful day. Love you both." No reply came. Across town, Mark was in the kitchen making coffee when Anna saw his phone light up. "Your mother again?" she asked, her tone sharp. "She's just saying hi," he replied quietly. Anna sighed. "Mark, you know how this starts. You answer her once and she'll find a way back in." "You promised we'd have boundaries." He hesitated. "She's my mom, Anna, and I'm your wife," she shot back. "Who's your family now?" The question hit harder than she meant it to, but she didn't take it back. Mark didn't answer. That evening, Lydia called again. When he didn't pick up, she left a voicemail. "I just wanted to hear your voice, honey. Tell Oliver Grandma loves him." Her voice cracked. But she forced a smile no one could see. In the background, the sound of cartoons played a recording from a different time, when her house still echoed with her grandson's laughter. She replayed that voicemail before going to bed, just to remind herself her love still existed somewhere, even if no one wanted to hear it. 3 weeks passed before Mark finally called. Lydia almost didn't recognize his number. It had been that long. "Mom," he said, his voice careful, too polite. "We're fine." "Oliver's fine." Lydia tried to keep her tone light. "That's good to hear, sweetheart. I was starting to think I'd done something wrong." There was a pause. "It's not that," Mark said quickly. "Anna just thinks it's better if we take a step back for a while." Lydia's smile faded. "From what, Mark?" "From your mother." "From the drama," he muttered. The word cut deeper than he knew. "I never wanted drama," she whispered. "I just wanted to see my grandson." Mark's silence said everything. She swallowed hard. "Does Oliver ask about me?" He hesitated. "Sometimes. But Anna doesn't want him confused." Lydia closed her eyes. "Confused about what? That he's loved?" There was a faint sigh, then his voice softened. "Mom, please. I'm trying to keep the peace. By pretending I don't exist?" she asked, her voice trembling now. "You're asking me to be quiet while you erase me from his life. It's not like that." "Then, what's it like, Mark?" Silence again. She could almost hear Anna in the background. "I have to go," he said at last. "We'll talk soon." He hung up. Lydia stared at the phone until the screen dimmed. For the first time, she realized her son wasn't her little boy anymore. He was a man, but one who'd forgotten the hands that once held him. That night, she packed away Oliver's toys, folded his blanket, and whispered, I'll wait, my darling, even if I'm waiting alone. Winter arrived early that year, sharp and gray. Lydia filled her days with small routines: baking, watering plants that didn't need it, pretending not to notice how quiet the house had become. Then one cold Sunday morning, she heard a knock. Her heart leapt. She opened the door and froze. It was Anna. She looked tense, her arms crossed over her coat. "Mark's at work," she began, "but I thought maybe we should talk." Lydia stepped aside silently, unsure if this was peace or another wound waiting to open. They sat at the table, the same table where Lydia once taught Mark to read. Anna looked around, her eyes scanning the modest home. "Oliver's been asking questions," she said finally. "About you." Lydia's breath caught. "What did you tell him?" "That you love him. And that you're resting." Lydia's smile faltered. "Resting?" Anna sighed. "He's 6. Lydia, he doesn't understand the history between us." Lydia leaned forward. "What history, Anna?" "That I wanted to be part of his life." "That you tried too hard," Anna snapped, her mask slipping. "You smothered him, like you do Mark." The words hit like ice water. "I only gave what I never had," Lydia whispered. "A mother's love." Anna's eyes softened, just for a second, then hardened again. "You make everything about you." She stood up, grabbing her purse. Lydia didn't stop her. As Anna reached the door, Lydia said quietly, "Tell him Grandma's not resting." "She's waiting." Anna paused, her hand trembling on the doorknob. For a fleeting moment, guilt crossed her face. Then she left. The silence that followed was heavier than before because this time, Lydia knew it wasn't just distance keeping her family apart. It was pride. A month passed without a word. Lydia stopped calling, not out of anger, but exhaustion. The phone stayed silent, the house colder. Then one evening, while reading by the fireplace, she heard a soft knock. When she opened the door, her heart stopped. Oliver stood there, clutching a drawing in his small hands. Behind him, a man's voice said, "Go on, buddy." It was Mark. Lydia dropped to her knees, tears instantly filling her eyes. "Oh, my sweet boy," she whispered, pulling Oliver into her arms. Mark lingered at the doorway, unsure. "Anna doesn't know I brought him," he said quietly. Lydia didn't care. She looked at her grandson's drawing, 3 stick figures holding hands, beneath a big yellow sun. "Who's this?" she asked softly. "You," Oliver said proudly. "Mommy says you're sleeping, but I know you're not." Lydia smiled through tears. "No, darling, I'm right here." Mark looked away, guilt heavy in his face. They spent an hour together, cocoa, laughter, the stories Lydia had saved for years. When it was time to leave, Oliver hugged her tightly. "I'll tell Mommy you're awake now," he said innocently. After the door closed, Lydia turned to Mark. "You don't have to choose, she said gently. "Loving her doesn't mean you have to stop loving me." Mark's voice broke. "It feels like it does." Lydia placed a hand on his cheek. "Then maybe you're listening to the wrong person." He nodded but didn't speak. As he left, she watched him drive away, the taillights fading like hope in the dark. Still, for the first time in months, Lydia felt something warm again, not because things were fixed, but because love had finally found a crack to shine through. Mark didn't visit again for a long time. Lydia didn't expect him to. Anna would have made sure of that. But every weekend, she baked cookies and wrapped them carefully in a tin, writing for Oliver on the lid, as if hope could travel through metal and distance. Then, one afternoon in early spring, there was a knock at her door. Her heart skipped. It wasn't Mark. It was Anna, again. She looked different this time, tired, pale and holding the same tin in her hands. "He found them," she said softly. "The cookies. In his backpack?" "I didn't know you'd been sending them." Lydia hesitated. "I just wanted him to have something sweet from me." Anna stepped inside, eyes glistening. "He wouldn't eat them unless I tried one first," she said, almost laughing. "He thought they were magic." Lydia smiled faintly. "Maybe they are." They sat in silence for a moment before Anna spoke again. "He misses you." "A lot," Lydia's voice cracked. "Then why keep me away?" "Because," Anna said, her voice trembling, "I was jealous. You gave him warmth I never had. I wanted to be enough. For him, for all of them." Lydia reached across the table and took her hand. "Being loved doesn't take away from anyone else. It just adds more of it." Anna's tears finally fell. "I think I made Mark believe it was a choice. Me or you." "It never was," Lydia whispered. It was supposed to be all of us. That evening, Anna left quietly, but with softer eyes. For the first time, Lydia didn't cry after the door closed. She simply looked at the empty chair across from her and thought, maybe this is how healing begins, not with forgiveness, but with understanding. Weeks passed, and slowly something began to change. Mark started calling more often, not out of guilt, but because he wanted to. Sometimes just to share a story about Oliver, sometimes to ask if Lydia needed anything. Anna would occasionally join the calls, her tone softer than before. One Sunday, Mark said, "Mom, Oliver wants to visit you this weekend." Lydia froze, her breath catching. Does Anna know? She's the one who suggested it, he replied with a smile she could hear through the phone. That weekend, when they arrived, the house seemed to wake up. The air smelled of cookies and lavender. Oliver ran from room to room, his laughter filling the silence that had once suffocated it. Lydia showed him her garden, now blooming again after years of neglect. Anna watched from the porch, quiet but smiling. Later, while the two women washed dishes together, Lydia broke the silence. "Thank you for bringing him," Anna nodded. He kept asking. "Said he missed your stories," Lydia chuckled. "I missed telling them." Anna's eyes glistened. "I wish I hadn't waited this long." "It's never too late," Lydia said gently. "Not for family." When they left, Oliver hugged her so tightly she had to blink back tears. "Can I come again next week?" he asked. Lydia kissed his hair. "Anytime, my love." After they drove away, she stood in the doorway, the evening light wrapping her like a blessing. For the first time in years, the house didn't feel empty, it felt alive, as if forgiveness had quietly turned the key and let love back in. Spring turned to summer, and their visits became routine Sunday afternoons filled with laughter, home-cooked meals, and stories that stretched long into the evening. Lydia had her family back, though she moved carefully, afraid to break the fragile peace. One afternoon, while she and Anna hung laundry in the garden, Anna said quietly, "Oliver's teacher asked him to draw his family. He drew you right next to us." Lydia smiled, her heart swelling. "Then maybe we're finally whole." Anna looked at her, sunlight catching the corners of her tired smile. "You were always part of it. I just couldn't see it before." Later that day, when Mark arrived home from work, he found the two women talking like old friends, not rivals, not strangers. He watched them for a while before joining in, handing Lydia a cup of tea. "You know," he said softly, "I used to think keeping the peace meant staying silent." Lydia nodded. "Silence keeps things calm, but it doesn't make them right." Mark smiled. "I'm learning that." That evening, Oliver climbed onto Lydia's lap, wrapping his arms around her neck. "Grandma, are you coming to my school play?" he asked eagerly. Lydia froze. "If your parents say yes, darling." Anna's voice came from the kitchen. "We already did." Lydia's eyes filled with tears. For a long time, she couldn't speak. The boy's small hand rested on her cheek as if to remind her love, once broken, could still be rebuilt. And as the sunset painted the garden gold, Lydia realized that sometimes healing doesn't come as a grand moment. It comes as a simple, ordinary day when laughter replaces silence. Autumn arrived with the scent of rain and baked apples. Lydia had never liked the season before, too quiet, too full of memories, but now it carried warmth. Every Sunday, Oliver's laughter filled the house again. He'd run through the hallway, dragging his toy cars along the wooden floor, shouting, "Grandma, watch this!" Lydia would pretend to be amazed every time. One afternoon, as they baked cookies together, Oliver asked, "Grandma, why didn't you come last year?" Lydia paused, the spoon trembling in her hand. "Sometimes grown-ups forget how to share love," she said softly. "But we're learning again." Oliver nodded, satisfied with the answer only a child could accept. Meanwhile, in the living room, Mark and Anna watched quietly. "She's good with him," Anna murmured. Mark smiled faintly. "She always was," Anna sighed. "I think I was afraid of that. Afraid he'd love her more? Afraid I wouldn't know how to love like her," she admitted. Mark took her hand. "You both love him differently, and that's what makes him lucky." That evening, as they prepared to leave, Lydia stood at the door. "You've given me everything I ever wanted," she said. Anna hugged her, really hugged her this time. "You gave it first." When they left, Lydia sat by the window, watching the car disappear into the mist. For the first time in years, she didn't feel left behind. She felt included, woven back into the story she once thought she'd lost. Winter returned, but this time it didn't feel cold. The house that had once been filled with silence now carried the soft hum of family laughter, footsteps, and the quiet comfort of belonging. Lydia decorated the living room with old photos, one of which showed Mark as a little boy holding a snow globe. She placed it on the shelf where she could see it every morning. On Christmas Eve, the doorbell rang, and when she opened it, she froze. Mark, Anna, and Oliver stood on her doorstep, bundled in coats and smiles. "We thought we'd spend Christmas here," Mark said. Lydia's voice trembled. "All of you?" "All of us," Anna replied, her tone warm but steady. The evening unfolded like a scene Lydia had once only dreamed of. They cooked together, laughed over burned cookies, and even danced to an old holiday song on the radio. Oliver played with the snow globe, shaking it until white flakes swirled around the tiny house inside. "That's your daddy," Lydia told him. "He used to stare at that snow globe for hours when he was your age." Mark smiled, his eyes soft with memory. After dinner, they sat by the fire. Anna leaned closer to Lydia. "I was wrong," she said quietly. "About so many things. You never tried to take anything from me. You were just trying to give?" Lydia's eyes glistened. "I wasn't always gentle about it," she admitted. "But I never stopped loving either of you." Anna nodded, her hand finding hers. Mark watched them, his throat tight. "I think Oliver's the only one who knew what we all forgot, that love doesn't run out." Lydia laughed softly. "Children always remember what adults forget." Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, Lydia stood by the window. Outside, snow drifted down in silent beauty. She could see the faint light from Oliver's room, his small silhouette moving as he played with the snow globe before sleep. For the first time in years, Lydia felt whole. Not because things were perfect, but because they had learned how to love each other without conditions, without fear. She whispered into the quiet, "Thank you for coming home." The next morning, she woke to Oliver's laughter echoing down the hall, and she smiled, realizing the sound she'd been waiting for all these years wasn't forgiveness, it was family. If this story touched you, remember this silence may keep peace for a while, but it can also break hearts that only wanted to be heard. If you believe that forgiveness can rebuild what silence once destroyed, share this story and tell us in the comments. Would you have stayed quiet like Mark? Or fought for love like Lydia? And don't forget to subscribe for more cinematic stories of love, family, and redemption. Because sometimes the loudest love is the one that finally finds its voice,